Hi, I'm Mark Jardine and this is Sail for Gold Live in Cowes, giving you all the latest from the Olympic sailing competition. Today is the first medal race day for the RSX men and women.
I'm here with Andy Rice, who's in Rio and has been keeping tabs on all of the action in the Olympic sailing competition. First of all, it was the last day of the main series for the lasers and the laser radials. And Nick Thompson was in a good position for a medal. What happened there?
It was a really difficult day in the lasers because they had one race on the Niteroi course out to sea, and then they came back in to the inshore course. So even if you learnt the secrets to one race course, you weren't able to apply them to the next. I was also just speaking to Shirley Robertson just 5 minutes ago, and she's been out there reporting for BBC out on the water, as I'm sure you've seen. I haven't actually seen that myself. I was just asking Shirley what she gets up to. But she watched Nick and just thought he looked a bit slow, that he came out in good positions tactically, but didn't have that extra bit of boat speed needed to be able to burn other people off, which is a real shame to hear that. So he has an outside chance of a medal, but he's given himself a lot of work to do, as has Robert Scheidt. And I really wanted to see those two win the medal. I would have loved to have seen Nick Thompson win the gold and Robert Scheidt win the silver and become the first Olympian to win 6. But we may get one of those dreams fulfilled in that one of them might win a medal. But it's pretty tough for them because Sam Meach from New Zealand had a very good day and now sits in third overall and a few points in front of the Brit and the Brazilian. But also from a global perspective, it's been a good day for sailing in that Croatia has now secured its first ever medal in sailing, thanks to Tonči Stepanovic, who sailed a fantastic series this week and is assured at the very least of a silver medal and is very strongly placed to get the gold medal.
It's a remarkable achievement by him. Apart from his 28th, he's put in all of his results have been in the top 12. In that fleet, it's remarkable.
I think yesterday you commented about how no one had managed to keep all their scores inside the top 20. So the fact that he's managed to get top 12s as all his counters and discard that 28th is fantastic. And, for neutrals, I think it's really nice to see Croatia do so well because they are one of the smaller underfunded nations. And he commented earlier that it was really nice to see his training partner of 8 years win the silver medal. That was Pavlos Kontides from Cyprus, win Cyprus's first ever Olympic medal in any sport at London 2012. Kontides is just outside the medal hopes this time round, but his training partner and great friend Tonči Stepanovic is on the verge of winning a gold or a silver. So nice to see these small nations getting their rewards as well.
Moving on to the radials, Alison Young wasn't in a position to get into the medals, but she did finish her main series on a high.
Yep, she won the final race of qualifying. So finally, Alison Young, the reigning world champion, showed us what she can do. A nice reminder of that. But unfortunately, too little, too late. A shame for her. And it looks like at the moment the gold medal is going to be going the way of Marit Baumeister, although that's by no means guaranteed. She is guaranteed of a medal, certainly of some colour, and she's well placed for gold ahead of Anne-Marie Rindom of Denmark, who looks good in silver place. And meanwhile, Annelies Murphy sitting in third, and a buffer of a few points on Evie van Acker from Belgium. So I've got my fingers crossed, as I think a lot of people do, for Annelies Murphy, who finished fourth, just missed out on a medal in London 2012, and she's a very popular girl around here. So fingers crossed that she manages at least to hold on to bronze and possibly might be able to take silver off Anne-Marie Rindom.
I'm sure all of us, with Alison Young unable to win a medal, will all be cheering for Annelies Murphy. Moving on to the 49ers, we watched Peter Burling and Blair Tuke weren't quite as dominant as they were on the first day of their racing, but still in the lead.
Yeah, and still very happy with what was a very important day because they didn't get their full racing in yesterday. So today was a 4-race day. That's effectively a third of the qualifying series of events. And they were very happy to come away with the scores that they did. Pete Burling said, unlike yesterday when they got their 2 bullets, today was a much more difficult race course because you really only had one shot at getting in the front. It was a bit more one-tracked tactically. So they were happy to grind their way back through the fleet in some of their races. And they sailed very well to do so. And the Germans also had a fantastic day and find themselves just 3 points off the lead. So and quite a buffer behind them, got a 15-point gap back to a bunch of boats who lie in the next few places after that. I think it's the Danes, the 2008 Olympic champion Jonas Wara, who sits in 3rd place. And as we commented yesterday, might have been doing a lot better had they not mucked up that first race when they missed out the proper course. But at the moment, it's a bit of a 2-horse race. Still early days, though, only the halfway stage between New Zealand and Germany. And Australia still not firing on all cylinders. They won one race today, but the reigning Olympic champions. Time is beginning to run out for them if they're really going to challenge Burling and Tuke, who don't really make mistakes. I think it's going to be a push for Australia to hang on to that gold medal. And meanwhile, as we said the other day, sometimes I don't have a reason to interview the Brits as they come through the mix zone. Unfortunately, that's where we are at the moment with Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syme, but there's still time for that to change. And I hope that I will be holding my microphone up to them and eagerly hoping to hear how well they did on days to come.
They seem to have moments where they were going fast, a 4th in the last race today, but also a 20th in race 4. How can they find some consistency?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't get to see their racing close enough to be able to really make a comment on that. I did watch the start of the first race yesterday, and it looked like they were going for a port tack start and looking to duck through a few and then get over the top of a few, but they didn't have quite enough distance ahead of the Kiwis to be able to get across the top of them at the start, and they tacked, and it was a slow tack as 49 attacks are compared with those that are going fast in a straight line, and they rounded that top mark in 20th and I in that first race, and I would have wanted them to see to sort of do a more straightforward, simple approach to the start of their campaign. I haven't seen enough of their racing really to be able to comment. They can blow hot and cold from day to day. I just hope that they start blowing hot for the rest of the regatta because it's not too late yet.
So hopefully a little less of the high-risk tactics and just try and just knock in some decent race results. But it was a decent day for the Irish team, Ryan Seaton and Matt McGovern, who won race 4.
Yeah, and they really do show great moments of flair, and they were leading one of the races yesterday, and okay, they couldn't hang on to the Kiwis, but they've had Ian Barker, the 49er silver medalist back in Sydney 2000, working with them for a long, long time. They're fast, they're a great team, they get on really well, they've got a great spirit, and they do quite a bit of training. Let's see, is it with the Kiwis or the Aussies? I'm trying to remember. I think it might even be with the Kiwis. But anyway, they've got, really world-class training partners. And, they are still very well placed. They are in that gaggle of boats that I mentioned earlier that are all not far off 3rd place right now. So at the moment, bronze is certainly up for grabs. And I don't think that the Kiwis are going to yield much, but the Germans, they can't necessarily be relied on to hang on to their 2nd place. So that they don't have that kind of form that the Kiwis do. So I think the likes of the Irish and many, many other teams can still expect to be chasing for silver and certainly for bronze.
Excellent. Now moving on to the 49er FX, it was a decent day for Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth.
Yes, it was. I must admit, I haven't been tracking them that carefully hopefully today. My focus has mostly been on the lasers, the laser radials, and the Nacras, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a moment. But yeah, I mean, they're sailing pretty well. You know, I mean, they're outside hopes of a medal, and they're certainly living up to that. I think they're probably sailing, you know, on par or slightly above expectation right now. The standout performers since getting a UFD disqualification from race 1 are the Danes, who've had a fantastic run of form since then. I think they've got 4 second places and 1 fourth place as their counters. So really, really impressive by the Danes, and also a good solid performance by the home team sailing on home waters. They live just over the water from Marina de Gloria, where I am right now in Niterói, and that's the Brazilian team of Martin Grael and Cayena Kunz. So those 2 teams in particular doing very well, but a bit like the Irish in the 49er that we just mentioned, there's a lot up for grabs there for Charlotte Dobson and Sophie Ainsworth.
Yeah, it really has been extraordinarily consistent performance by the Danes. Now, on the Finn course, our Brit that we really are behind, Giles Scott. Another fantastic day and a 16-point lead.
Yes, I was tempted to take on a bet with an Italian coach who reckoned that maybe the Slovenian and the Hungarian might be able to take on Giles Scott in light winds and flat water. Well, actually, they didn't really get particularly light winds today anyway, but it was flat water, and I think he underestimates Giles's. I mean, the fact that Giles doesn't have any weaknesses. Okay, he may not be stand out head and shoulders above everybody else in sort of the light winds and flat waters, but he's still as good as everybody else. And actually, on today's measure, he's still a little bit better than everyone else to get a first and a third, and to stretch his overall lead, still with 2 qualifying races to go, to 16 points ahead of Vasily Spogar. And so if he has another day like that before the medal race, I think we could be looking at another gold medal that's been wrapped up before we get to the medal race. It's the way that Giles is sailing. I see no reason why anyone is going to really be able to get back to him. He just doesn't seem to be making mistakes. And the only thing he's done wrong all week is to be on the wrong end of the lottery that was the Sugarloaf Mountain race course on the very first day, on the very first race when he got 17th. And I know that Giles will be keen as possible to avoid the lottery of going back onto that medal race course to decide the medals. He'll want to have his medal decided. He'll want to have chosen the colour before he goes back onto that medal race course, and he's looking well placed to do so.
It is extraordinary, the consistency that he's achieving, where it seems so difficult for everyone else to, in his 8 races, 3 first places and 6 races in the top 3 is truly extraordinary.
And Shirley Robertson was observing just how much better he is downwind. He's just got another gear downwind, which in his day Ben Ainsley used to as well. That used to be where he made up a lot of his ground. And just that combination of enormous strength, which I think a lot of the other sailors have as well, but also combined with flawless technique, with this free pumping rule that they have in the fin, he seems to be the master of that downwind technique.
And moving on to the Nacra 17 course, we've got the Brits still in the top 3. Not the best of days for them, but it seemed a very difficult day to be consistent. But the standout performance, the French, Billy Besson and Marie Roux. Amazing, 2-1-1 results.
Yeah, especially when you consider that the moment that Billy Besson gets back ashore again, he looks virtually incapable of walking and looks very relieved to be sitting back down in his wheelchair and to be pushed around by one of the French coaches. So he's a virtual invalid on shore, and then somehow he manages to unfold himself from his wheelchair and stretch himself out on the trapeze and just score an absolutely incredible day out on the water. And it's been notable just how pleased some of the other competitors have been to see him back to his best. They've been very generous with their comments today. You might have thought, they'd be quite pleased to see the back of the injured 4-time world champions, but actually no, they're really pleased to see them back out there on the race course and performing so well. And also a very good day for the oldest sailor in the whole competition. That's Santiago Lange from Argentina, who, aged 57, winner of 2 Olympic medals in the past in the Tornado, is using that experience to sail very, very well. And the Brits didn't have a fantastic day. They didn't seem to have the measure of those conditions out on the Copacabana course. But amazingly, they still find themselves in the top 3. And the Australians still lead, even though they didn't have a great day. And again, Shirley Robertson's observation was that maybe it was a good day for old heads and lots of experience in the catamaran, which, to be fair to the Brits, they still, they're still relative newcomers to multi-hull sailing, and maybe it's a bit of technique out in the waves that the Brits have been lacking.
With the Australians and the Brits not having the best of days, it really has compacted the leaderboard on the points. How's that going to change things going into what is the last day before the medal races for them?
I think it's going to become a test of nerve, really. I think it really is going to be probably quite a mental battle about keeping your nerve on the world's biggest stage, and potentially on some of the trickiest race courses. But from a British perspective, we should be very encouraged by just how well the Brits attacked that first day, that first really, really fluky day on the Sugarloaf Mountain race course, which, unlike some of the other medals, which seem to be being wrapped up before the big day, it's really hard to imagine that anyone's going to run away with this Nacra series and get their gold medal before that day is decided. So I think having a cool head on that really, really tricky race course, that could play into the hands of Saxton and Groves.
They're an extremely popular team, and we've had lots and lots of messages of support for them. So we're going to be watching that one closely. Now, Andy, many thanks indeed for your time again. Great to speak to you out in Rio, and let's see how things unfold tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Mark. And we're getting to the business end now. We've got our first medal races tomorrow. So really getting to the exciting end of this. Thanks again for talking.
Many thanks for watching. Remember, if you have any questions, please send them through using the hashtag #SailForGold on Facebook or Twitter. Tomorrow we have the medal races for the laser men's and the laser radial women's. So remember to watch the show, same time, same place.